what you expect. These yokels are pure Baltic Avenue. Uh-oh, I'm late for the Short Line Railroad.
You got me lost in Magic City. I hope that I make it home by Wednesday. And this Magic City lets me go.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to What the Hell Happened to Them? Jack Attacks the Cast. That's right, Jack Nicholson this season. I am your host, Patrick Skeyhill, and joining me on the line is...
I am just plain Joe.
Oh, not a jote?
No, Joe.
You can be a jote if you want. I won't stop you.
I don't like that. Just one
Yeah.
aimless turd.
Whoa. I didn't say it, Lev. Don't let him blame that on me later. But yes, Lev Van Rensselaer is on the audio boards reminding me to remind you that you can email the cast at whathappenedtothem@gmail.com. And our sponsor this week is Pimple Mousse, the only mousse hair product that is promised to get rid of all the pimples on your scalp. Got scalp pimple problems? Pimple Mousse. Use that in the shower. All right, Joe, what movie are we doing this week?
We watched The King of Marvin Gardens.
That's right. And what happens in this Monopoly-sponsored movie?
Yeah. Always had a weird thing about this movie because of the Marvin Gardens thing in Monopoly. And then I found out that it has...
Well, they even bring it up. They even say it. They're like, look, Monopoly. And I go, all right, slow down, movie. We get it.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah. All right. So Jason Stapler lives on the boardwalk and fronts for the local mob in Atlantic City. He is a dreamer who asks his brother David, played by Jack Nicholson, a radio personality from Philadelphia, to help him build a paradise on a Pacific island, which might be just another of his pie-in-the-sky schemes. Inevitably, complications begin to pile up.
All right, Joe. You've been teasing me the last couple days. What's your big news on this movie?
It's not a tease at all. It's just that we have another crossover. Another man has entered in. Oh, that's the face I was hoping for. But it's a big guy. And I'm not just talking about the size of the man.
Talking about Ben Johnson.
No.
right.
Wait, is Ben Johnson in this movie?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good.
Well, who is it?
Josh Mostel, who we have not seen since Big Daddy. That's right. I'm talking Josh Mostel, who played the child care services guy.
Oh, the son of Zero Mostel.
Yes. He also plays the principal in Billy Madison.
Oh, he does. Adam Sandler on set, talking with him. He's like, man, I just loved you in King of Marvin Gardens. What a great film.
Do you think you could hook me up with Jack? I've been wanting to work on a picture with him. I did not see him in this movie. He was probably
he was like the
almost 25 years younger in this movie than he was in Billy Madison.
Yeah, I know.
He was a young man. Do you remember seeing Frank? He was born in 46, so he would have been not even in his 20s. No, wait, no, sorry. He'd been like 24, 25?
Yeah, I remember, I think he was the guy in the other hotel that was like, get this woman out of here. Why does she think she can shower anywhere she pleases in my hotel?
It's just, this is the picture I have to go off of now, and I don't remember any man looking like that in this movie.
I know, I feel bad for a lot of older actors on IMDb. If I'm an older actor on IMDb, I'm just having them use a photo of me from my heyday. Not having them use today's photo.
You said the son of Zero Mostel, and that's the first thing up on his IMDb.
Zero Mostel, big deal.
The son of Broadway and film star Zero Mostel.
Yeah, the proto Nathan Lane he was.
Whoever wrote this just really does not like Josh Mostel, though, because the son of Broadway and film star Zero Mostel, Joshua Mostel, is every bit the heavyweight that his father was, perhaps even heavier. Wow, that's mean.
He's calling him fat.
Yeah, they're really... Oh, God, it's so mean. So, yeah, he's in this movie. That was the thing. He's our crossover. Anyways, I didn't really care for this movie that much. I'm sorry to say that again. I was just a little bored. That's just me, though. My thing with it is just that it's after, like, we got 5 easy pieces, especially after A Safe Place. This just seems like we're going in the opposite direction we were going. It's kind of just like a regular story about two brothers.
Two brothers
in a van, and then a meteor hit, and they ran as fast as they could from giant cat monsters, and then a giant tornado came, and that's when things got knocked into 12th gear.
I mean, I guess I teed that up for you.
I really didn't like this movie watching it at that screening. I like it more now.
Wow.
I think you're right. It is sort of the opposite of 5 Easy Pieces. His visual directing here and a lot of the more creative world building he does is exemplar. I think it's fantastic. You have this great moment where Ellen Burstyn welcomes Jack Nicholson and there's this sad, mopey band going on. There's these Red Hat Society people meandering about. This really weird, almost tribute to Eraserhead Lady in the Radiator dance number happening. This weird Miss America, like all this stuff, really great. The
It's
visual
before it, though.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's before Eraserhead. Eraserhead was like 78 or 79. This is 72. This is the beginning. David Lynch wasn't making movies that early.
Oh, maybe you're right.
That's funny. It's 77.
Yeah, all right. You're right. So maybe David Lynch is like, wow, what a weird movie. Look at this. It is kind of a Lynchian kind of world, though, right? This weird, faded dream of America is here. The characters are a little drier, but the goal is, where 5 Easy Pieces is like, what's up with this Jack Nicholson character and what all the crap he causes around him? But it's really a character study on him. This is a relationship study, but what's going on between these 4 characters, the movie's a lot more interested in. It's a little harder to hang your hat on something, which can why you can feel listless in the movie. I wonder almost if it's by design, though, because it is his most listless and bleak film so far. The color palette in here, while very strong, is really dreary. And it's grays and browns, and every now and then one of the women has on like this purple, but it still kind of loses. It's not a very bright purple. It kind of fits into the autumn of the scene of this sort of crappy, decaying boardwalk in a pre-gambling Atlantic City that was on its last legs. This is a complaint I get from people watching Bella Tarr movies. They're like, oh my God, it's so depressing. There's no undulating here. You know, 5 Easy Pieces has these up and downs where he finds the piano on the back of the truck, or, you know, we get a change in color palettes between the California and the Northwestern settings. And you get these weird, like, hippie interludes and stuff, and there's like a little tongue-in-cheek commentary going on here. And this is just like, yep, America's crappy now. Here you go. And so it can feel a little one note, and the dark tones of the movie can kind of wear away at you over a 100-minute film. But I don't know, then you got like 2 brothers.
And you better bet your bottom dollar that these 2 brothers know how to handle business.
Just on a horse looking at each other randomly, and I get amused by that too. If I had to boil it down, I would say really cool world, really cool visual design, typified characters in a way. And that's not all the time true either, but I can understand why people would have a hard time with this. I can understand why audiences weren't super thrilled with it. And if it didn't have Jack Nicholson, probably would have been a commercial failure.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the power of Nicholson's stardom already, like 2-3 years after the fact that he became one. So good work, Jack. Does Ebert have any thoughts on King of Marvin Gardens?
Yes.
Roger, Roger, Roger. Roger, 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 Roger.
Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, calling it an original, individual, and often frustrating movie that takes a lot of chances and wins on about 60% of them.
Yeah.
Gene Siskel awarded the film 3 stars out of 4, writing that much of the film doesn't work. but it contains 3 of the best performances of the year. So he's like, this movie doesn't work, but I like the acting.
I've aligned more with Roger Ebert's thing. Yeah, but again, I'm seeing why a lot of this is happening. I think it is tough in the heels of 5 Easy Pieces. One might think like this should have come out first, and then he worked his way up to 5. But 5 Easy Pieces feels like the more streamlined script, where I agree with these critics, and like he is taking more risks here. Visually, like I've been saying, it pays off a lot. The lack of music, non-diegetic music, I think pays off a lot. Getting these great characters from these previous films, you feel like you're getting a little shortchanged here. The film doesn't want to follow it's not like a James White type film. It's not a Tar type film. 5 Easy Pieces, it wants to follow what's going on between these people. There's something a little Hollywood about that. Hollywood likes to jump around from all the different characters, but this movie's interested in what's going on between Ellen Burstyn and Bruce Dern. What's going on between Ellen Burstyn and what's her name, the other girl? That I think didn't do any movies after this. I think she died.
Yeah, she really didn't. It's so weird. Because she looks so familiar, but she didn't. Her name is Julia Ann Robinson. She did this. She has 3 credits to her name. The King of Marvin Gardens, this movie called A Fan's Notes, where she played Bunny Sue. Yeah, I've just never heard of that one. And then she is in a movie called Getting Straight, a movie that I really liked this year, starring Elliot Gould and Candice Bergen.
Oh, yeah, see, they're all hanging out together. This early 70s crowd. Yeah, I want to talk about, I think the opening shot's really good. Why I like it more than the Tar opening monologue. It's not, I know Tar opens up with somebody else's monologue, and then we get to Tar, and we're just kind of hanging on her for a bit. And I complained about that last week on a Safe Place episode. This one sort of working, I guess, first let me preface this by saying the heavy use of dialogue in this film, I tuned out quite a bit. There's a lot of people going on these kind of mini monologues, and like I would realize all of a sudden, like, oh shit, I think I've missed the last 10 seconds of this.
I get
You're
that.
such a strongly visual movie. Why are your characters talking nonstop? Come on, movie. Relax. This one was interesting to me because it's such a weird, we're just on like a half a guy's face. He's just sort of plopping us into this story suddenly. We don't know why he's telling it. We don't know if he's telling it to us or if there's somebody else in the room we can't see. And it goes on. I think the whole thing's like 5 minutes, which already is shorter than the Tar thing. But then this red light starts blinking. And now we get to be like, what the hell's going on here? What's this weird light that's come out of nowhere? And then he starts to like react to the light and we go, okay, and then he's getting grumpy and it's ruining his story. And then we get to cut out and do all the, this is the stuff that Tar does much better later in the movie, posing the question and then answering it. It didn't do it in that opening 15 minutes for whatever reason.
Okay, so do you forget the real opening of Tar after the logos?
What is it?
It's opening to like an iPhone on some weird app where it's like Instagram Live thing. But
I just don't think that's a strong visual either. I know that pays off, and I remember being like 2 hours and 10 minutes towards the end. I'm like, oh yeah, it's that thing.
Oh yeah.
But like that's not a guy's face almost looking at the camera, pretty strong. A phone. I already don't think we should be showing phones and texts. I already hate it when movies do that. I don't want to open on one of those.
Yeah.
Reading is part of your opening thing. No, I'm not doing it. It's a movie, you idiots. Yeah, then we reveal he's in a booth and reveal somebody else is there and it becomes this radio thing and all of a sudden. So like that, I think was a strong sequence.
Yeah, that was the opening shot. Yeah. I remember it now.
Yeah.
He's going on about the story about the broccoli and his dad and his brother.
The fish bones and they choke. That is, the guy chokes on them, and then like his brother's like, "Hey, let's not tell anyone this."
It's like a 10-minute scene, right?
It's not that long. I thought it was long, and then I checked it. He's starting out this theme of like me and my brother were accomplices from that point, and you're like, okay, that's setting the stage. And it's even more thematic than we realize because we find out before too long that he himself made up the story. It's not even a real story. So already he's got the seeds of his brother in him. And over time, he's even going to start repeating things his brother said that he himself called stupid. He's going to start saying them to other people. So already that this between those two characters is revealing a lot more about the individual characters there. And in a movie where these two brothers are so different, we've seen a lot of generic ways of doing that, but the fact that there is this transference and that parts of the irresponsible brother, we'll call him, are moving into and maybe even admired by the responsible brother, who does intellectually know that these are problems, but instinctually he seems to gravitate towards them, is an interesting dynamic to approach and has not been done that much since.
Pat, no. It's just two brothers.
Two brothers.
But let's get back to the brothers because they have a strong bond. You don't want to know about it here, but I'll tell you one thing. The moon, it comes crashing into Earth, and what do you do then? It's two brothers, and they're gonna. It's called Two Brothers. Two Brothers.
I think that works too. I think there's some sound issues here with the dialogue recording, but mostly I think the sound is this kind of naturalistic approach that I think is good. Jack Nicholson playing against type, I think, is really interesting.
It is. The way his hair is styled, the glasses he's wearing, the jacket he's wearing, it's so against what he's been up to at this point. And you're like, huh.
Yeah, and I think it's a smart choice.
Bruce Dern is playing the more Jack Nicholson role.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a smart choice. I don't know if Jack made it or Bob made it, but the director. It's a smart choice because when you're growing up into being a big star, at some point they're like, oh, let's do the thing that you always do. And then once those parts dry up, you're kind of screwed. So if you can show off your range and avoid being typecast, not that it helped all that much, it seems.
Yeah.
It's not a bad way to make sure you're not pigeonholed in your career. I don't know. It's something I have to be cognizant of because it can happen to directors too. If you're like, do one horror thing, you probably don't want to do another horror thing unless you only ever want to do horror films because that's all they're going to see you as.
Poor Ari Aster. Yeah. He's got a 4.5-hour drama with Joaquin Phoenix, and everyone's like, it's a horror film, right?
Yeah. Like, oh.
I think it was a real problem for him, though, because that movie was supposed to come out this year, and then he's working on a new edit for it, apparently.
I don't blame A24 for being like, you're not having a 4.5-hour movie, you dumb chub. I'm just not surprised by that.
It's a long movie. Like, I'm glad he's not doing TV, though. I'm glad he's not doing TV. That's what I want to say. I don't care if the movie's 4.5 hours, as long as he's not going to be like, okay, well then, if I can't make my 4.5-hour movie, I'm going to go to TV. No, that's fine.
Do the dumb Harry Potter thing. It's just 2 movies, right? Kill Bill did it.
Yeah.
You're like, all right.
Well, I mean, they really had to talk Quentin into that. He's like, no.
I mean, I think it's fine. Marvel set the precedent. Just like do it. It's fine. And you can even do a cool thing where they like release a month apart. Like you can build some buzz and momentum that way. Like I think that would be actually kind of fun.
Yeah, it worked great for Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions.
Well,
did you know about that? So no, Reloaded, boatload of money, but everyone's just like, okay. Then Revolutions comes out and they're like, nah.
Well,
it's only like 6 months later.
Let me say 2 things. One, The Matrix was so popular, everybody was of course going to be clamoring for a sequel. 2. The third movie,
get really heady about
the third movie, actually a terrible, really horrible movie. A really lazy movie where nothing happens for the vast majority of the movie.
But 2 rules. I love 2.
I think I only saw half of 2, but it was fine. But like legitimately, it's like a dead zone in your climactic movie of your trilogy. There's just so much of this monotony in your movie. It felt like, wow, you guys ran out of ideas immediately.
But, hey, they came back for the Lego sequel, and it's good.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I don't care. The themes in this movie are, again, more strongly and visually done. We can tell a lot from the characters by the clothes are just hanging in the shower. They're looking at business plans on the floor, like on their knees and stuff. There's a lifeless amusement park. Even when his brother is shot and he gets a shitty, ugly coffin, it's really just like a crate that the guy gets put in. You have this marching band's kind of just ambling along the boardwalk. They actually sound pretty good in the distance, but when they finally they're doing like the Star Spangled Banner or something. And then when they make it to the front of the camera, they sound actually awful. Once you can really pick apart the timbre and the performances, it sounds atrocious, which is a very strong sort of like, yeah, America, it was great. Oh, but don't look too closely. You'll see all the They're not even in the Watergate era yet. Watergate hasn't happened, and they're already like, yeah, there's something rotten's underneath here.
Patrick, I need to tell you.
Yeah.
I think you've broken the world record for consecutive weeks talking about the fucking Watergate scandal. More than they did in the fucking 70s. You talked about it more and more.
Even when they do their faux Miss America pageant, Jack Nicholson's mic is buzzing out all the time and his poor feedback. Everything is failing in this movie. Little cutaway to it, like Last Picture Show, this kind of decaying husk of the American dream. Unknown to the movie, only gets revitalized with gambling. And Scatman Crothers' crew, I guess.
Yeah, Scatman, thank you for bringing me to Scatman.
I like to think of it as Jack Nicholson's character in this movie gets a job at the Overlook Hotel and gets revenge for his brother, Scatman Crothers. He plunges the axe into Scatman Crothers like, that's for my brother, you asshole.
So this is Scatman's favorite role of his entire career. Wow.
Oh, you mean he didn't like doing 8,000 takes for Kubrick? Are you sure?
I thought he would be like, don't care about the takes. That's not my personal favorite thing. But my home that you have set me up with those paintings are incredible.
Yeah.
So I got some sad trivia stuff for you. I'll give you the saddest one. We were talking about Julia Ann Robinson, how she hasn't been in many pictures. Well, this was her only major film role. She died in an apartment fire 2 years after its release.
Yeah, that's what I told you, didn't I? Didn't I say? I thought she died.
Oh, you said that?
I said I think she died. I don't know how she
completely.
died. That was in the back of my mind though.
Yeah, that's really sad. Awful.
Yeah, it's rough.
Especially since she has that 70s face. She could have been in tons of movies.
Yeah, I was surprised. She actually, to me, not that she's up against heavyweights, and this is like her first role, so it's not a critique, but she is the weakest of the three actors in here. Oh, speaking of her, this movie, crazily enough, passes the Bechdel test.
Hell yeah. About time.
Ellen Burstyn is afraid that Bruce Dern only prefers her stepdaughter now in a really weird relationship dynamic.
Yeah, that's so weird.
And so she's like packing up all her makeup and being like, I guess you're the one in charge now. I won't need these things anymore. And it technically passes. The specter of a man is looming there, but it's really about Ellen Burstyn being angry that she's old. And her daughter be like, Mom, you're crazy. She's like, I'm not crazy. And then, of course, she is by the end of the film. But
yeah, that was weird.
The movie pulled it off. Way to go, movie. Way to go, 1972.
And the roles that Al Pacino turned down in the 70s. Did I tell you the big one?
Did he want to be in a safe place? He was going to be the Proctor role, the Phil Proctor role?
No. So Al Pacino was personally offered the role of David by Bob Raefelson in 1972. So what would he have been doing? He would have done what? The Panic in Needle Park, and that's it? Because this is 72. And he turned down the role of David in this movie to play The Godfather.
Well, I don't think anyone's going to fault him for that.
Would have been weird if Al Pacino and Bruce Dern were brothers. I just don't see them as brothers. You see them as brothers?
No, and it's tough. That's not a great...
Pacino's so tiny, and Bruce Dern is very tall.
It's not a great Pacino role either, I don't think.
Well, we don't even know what a Pacino role would have been. He's only in one other movie.
Yeah,
he was about to make his name.
Yeah.
Who would have been in The Godfather besides Pacino?
Jack Nicholson.
No.
Imagine him flip-flop. That'd be funny.
Those are two wildly different careers after that. I don't want to think about that. That's rewriting too much history.
Yeah, the Berlin Wall never falls in that reality. It's kind of a weird rabbit hole we go down.
Yikes.
Butterfly effect.
The name Marvin Gardens is derived from Margate City and Ventnor City, New Jersey, and is a housing area in Margate City, Atlantic County, New Jersey, United States, located 2 miles south of Atlantic City. Marvin Gardens is famous as a yellow property on the original version of the Monopoly game board, although the game misspelled the name as Marvin Garden. It is the only property on the Monopoly board that is not located within Atlantic City. This movie shot in pre-Atlantic City in 1972 in the wintry times.
Yeah, which, helped their color palette thing work. Yeah, even the Monopoly thing is thematically like, look, here's the capitalist dream at work. Look, here it all is. We're auctioning off stuff for $1.
This movie was originally titled The Philosopher King.
Yeah, bad title.
Yeah, don't like that.
King of Marvin Gardens works. Hey, look, I'm king of a shit pile. Here I go. And like in reality, that's all Bruce Dern wants. Like his big American dream that can never seem to follow through on.
I liked Bruce a little more than Jack in this, but that's just me.
Yeah, Bruce is more likable in this. Jack is doing this really reserved, mentally undeveloped or mentally repressed character too.
Yeah.
The only reason we can be on board with him is because clearly the older brother is a con artist, and like morally we have to be like, well, I don't agree with that. Oh.
Yeah, well, he's fun and wacky, so I liked him.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's part of it. But I wonder if like they don't, Bob doesn't want Jack to do that role aside from a tabcast reason, because he doesn't want us to like the older brother too much. Like he doesn't want us to be too charmed by him.
Yeah, we first see him in jail, right?
Yeah.
That's where we first meet him.
He's like, hey, everybody shut up. My brother's here. I got to talk with him.
He takes the bowl and he like rakes it across the bars. He's like, shut up. And he's so much louder.
Yeah.
I feel like I could have heard him fine if he was just talking to Jack, but then he's like, no, I need to be the center of attention.
All right, Joe, you want a Watergate watch?
Watergate, Watergate, oh, Watergate.
Watch.
Yeah, I can't believe there's another one. What do you got?
The internet used to have a thing called Flash. Remember this thing, Joe?
Yeah.
It's powered by Adobe. Before YouTube, this was how you got to watch like animated videos. Like Charlie the Unicorn was Flash.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a browser plugin thing, and they got all internet browsers got rid of it like 2 years ago or whatever.
Oh.
A lot of video games also were Flash-based, especially in the early years. A self-started project called Flashpoint has taken on the mission of finding and preserving all these old Flash games / videos.
Yeah.
There is one such Flash game about the Watergate scandal. It is a classic point-and-click adventure game.
Where is this going? A classic point-and-click adventure game in the Watergate style.
Where you play Bob Woodward.
Of course. Who else would you play?
Yeah, and your boss tasks you with looking into whatever this Watergate thing is.
Your boss, Jason Robards.
Yes. For those of you who aren't used to playing grandpa games, old man games, a point-and-click game was done when computers were. You had to put a floppy disk in a computer to run the stupid game. It's basically like
usually have a mouse too.
Yeah, you have just a picture of a location that you're at. You don't even see yourself. You have a picture that you're at, and then there's a couple of buttons underneath that says like move, use, talk, things like that. And then you click on one of those options, and then you click on the item or part of the place you want to move to or take or speak to, things like that. So you start off outside the you start off outside the Washington Post building.
Ah, yes.
And like you go like, time to go to work, but you can't get into the building. You have to find a key out front. So you click take the key, and then you click use the key on the front door, and then you move into. A lot of clicking going on here. Old man game style. But it's actually a very funny game. It came out long after these types of games were popular. Probably came out in the middle of the last decade. So it is doing like a parody thing. These games were very popular in the fantasy genre, like a Dungeons and Dragons type point and click game. And first of all, there's a lot of different bad endings. So he says, all right, you want to take this Watergate thing? And if you say no, you go into this alternate future where Nixon stayed president and they make a big movie about him, and it's about how great of a president he is. And
how different is that from what we actually got, though?
Yeah.
And what is this bad endings you talk about? Because I feel like we got a bad ending already.
Yeah, the war in Cambodia is still going on 30 years later. You work at BuzzFeed by the end of it, and then you shoot yourself because your life's so miserable.
Here's a listicle.
But afterwards, he's like, all right, well, here, take this newspaper, call up Miami-Dade County, the guys there. And then he's like, oh, by the way, here's an elven sword. You might need this mystical thing on your quest.
Really?
And then you run into Dustin Hoffman, and he's like joins your party, and this like joining party music comes up and stuff. And there's a lot of like little political commentary hidden when you examine certain items in there. There's a lot of deep cuts to other prominent figures in that time period. You run into Timothy Leary in a sewer, and if you take the pill he gives you, it turns out it's LSD, and then you're in like this Mega Man side scroller for like a minute.
Does Kirsten Dunst and Michelle Williams come to walk the dog?
No, but you know what? You get to when there's a lot of fun being poked at Mark Frost, who's like, I'm definitely not Deep Throat, and they go, okay, Mark Frost, calm down. Not Mark, yeah, Mark Frost, and then you get a letter from Mark Frost that's like, this is Deep Throat, meet me at this place, from the letterhead of Mark Frost. And you get to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for like the final dungeon, but you can't get in because it's got a DNA lock. So you have to go to a cemetery and dig up checkers and use the bones to get into the building.
Mark Felt.
Oh, yeah, geez. Mark Frost is the
Mark
Twin Peaks
Frost
guy.
is from Twin Peaks.
It did sound wrong to me.
I know. It sounded so correct.
This is wrong, but it must be right.
I gotta look this up before I start correcting.
If you dig up the wrong grave, there's a grave that has like moss covered on it, so you dig up the wrong grave and there's nothing in here, and then the moss falls off the grave and it says Bob Woodward and Dustin Hoffman, and then G. Gordon Liddy sneaks up behind you and he's like, you fell into my complicated and implausible trap, and then like he shoots you and you fall into the grave. That's one of the bad endings.
Oh, is it?
You're about to go into the Oval Office and like Haldeman stops you, and the only thing that kills him is the mystical elven sword, and then, like, there's this slow, like, dramatic reveal of Nixon, and then your final showdown is like a Mike Tyson Punch-Out style game where you have to box Nixon, and then your special move your fatality at the end is spewing the First Amendment at him.
Wow.
Overall, if you know I played through the game twice to find all the bad endings. Oh, Mario Plumber show up there for as a guest appearance. It's a whole thing. Very amusing game. I played through it twice. The first time, it probably took me like 45 minutes because the point and click game is not intuitive.
You had to find your mouse
compared to newer gamers. Like, you don't know like what you can do within the scope of a point and click game all the time, so that can trip you up. And then you don't know certain items you can take and stuff. But then I played through it again, and the second time you can get through it in like 20 minutes if you know what you're doing.
Oh wow! It's
a very quick, digestible game. It's fun. It's just the right amount of humor. So for people who want to go play grandpa games, the project you have to download this client called Blue Maxima's Flashpoint Infinity. But then you have access to every Flash game ever made, and then you can just kind of play it within that client. And it was a lot of fun.
How many stars do you give it?
How many stars are there total?
5.
I give it 5 stars. Top-notch game.
Wow! That's better than most of the movies you watch on Letterboxd.
I know. Music was great. It did what I was I thought I was just getting like a standard Watergate game. And like 5 minutes in, he's like, here's your elven broadsword.
Hold on. A standard Watergate game. What is the standards for this Watergate game?
I was just like, it was Watergate, but it was a Flashpoint thing. I didn't think I was getting social commentary, video game, parody, mock-ups. I enjoyed myself quite a bit. Fun game.
I love it.
All right, and then we're going to do this quick. We're going to just do some Young Rock talk.
What the Rock is cooking.
Istanbul was Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a 1-minute timer on this.
Well, I gotta do 2 episodes. We didn't have time to do both last time. Let me get them through quick.
No timer this week.
First episode season premiere does the thing they always do, where they do the 3 storylines. But interestingly, it wasn't interested in doing them of equal length, which I think is smart to not have to pigeonhole yourself into that.
Yeah, which one don't you like? You don't like?
I don't like Kid Rock. It did the most with Kid Rock.
You don't like Kid Rock?
Yeah, I don't like Kid Rock.
My name is
That's good. We share that opinion.
They did the most time with him, and then they do a little bit of college and high school rock, and they actually kind of go back and forth between them. They don't just do one, and they're both much shorter than the other one. First of all, the bold choice is that The Rock loses the presidency.
Oh.
And so Randall Park's doing like this really bad
He's already making
Regis.
himself the underdog, though.
Yeah. Well, like the first season is just like, oh, look, he's in the lead. And like all season long, both seasons he's in the lead and then suddenly he loses. Fine, whatever. Anyway, good for them because I don't know what you do with it after that. Randall Park's just doing this bad Regis and Kathy Lee show, and then The Rock's gone into hiding. And then he shows up in this weird viral video suddenly, and now Randall Park's like, shit, let me call my best friend, Dwayne Johnson, make sure he's okay. And then he heads over to The Rock's place, and The Rock randomly talks about his dad going to Saudi Arabia to try to open up wrestling over there. But sadly, Vince loses interest in that when WrestleMania gets gigantic. Yeah, WrestleMania, I guess, became a big deal, it seems, and so they were only interested in doing that forever. Hulk Hogan shows up, and Young Rock apparently really loves Hulk Hogan and is like, someday I want to team up with him. Did that ever happen? Was he like winking at something?
They did team up. They did face each other in some pretty, I guess, historic matches because it was like from one generation to another, like passing the torch thing.
I see. All right. Mr. T the show seemed to indicate Mr. T was a wrestler. Is that true?
Yeah, I believe he's at WrestleMania 1?
Okay.
Is that WrestleMania 1? He's in the tag match with Hulk Hogan. They faced, don't ask me to figure out the wrestling history. But yeah, and then, Mr. T had that match, and then he was at the next WrestleMania fighting Roddy Piper. Okay,
gotcha. They go to some party where they're celebrating Cyndi Lauper.
Yep.
Music video.
At some WrestleMania. Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. So like that's, and then Vince is clearly upset with Rock's dad, about the Saudi Arabia thing. So that's looking grim. And The Rock, I guess when wrestling Rock is still unlikable, he injures himself while wrestling. Is this true? And like that causes some issues for him?
Yeah. How old is he?
I don't know. It's still in his baby face, right? Is that what it's called? He's still in that phase of his career.
Yeah, I think he got hurt, but it was like a minor injury. It wasn't that bad.
And it's in the second episode they go into this. The fear became that, like, The Rock, Vince, since he was already doing poorly and now was not going to be able to wrestle for like 6 months, he was just going to get forgotten. So he's trying to rush himself through getting better to get back out there and make himself relevant. Anyway, so in the present day, quote unquote, timeline of Young Rock, at the end of the first episode, the president calls up and says, Rock, I have a job only you can do. What is this job? Well, we find out in the second episode, the world is actually going through a global coffee shortage. And the one nation on Earth that still has coffee beans, the president and the leader there don't get along. But the leader there is a huge Rock fan.
Of course. Who isn't?
So he wants The Rock to go over there to negotiate with her to get more coffee beans for America. That is the stakes. Coffee, very important to modern day audiences.
Sounds like a season 3 episode, huh?
And so he said, Rock, we need you to go solve this coffee bean shortage. And The Rock goes, well, Mr. President, that reminds me of a story. And then it goes into the actual episode. The Rock's dad, I guess, starts like a wrestling school. Did this really happen? Or the school hasn't started yet, but he's going through plans with The Rock's grandmother to start this wrestling school. Is this a thing?
It must be.
Okay.
I'm not too well versed in like The Rock's family. I know his
that's fine.
his history in the wrestling company, but
The Rock gets married to the producer of all of The Rock's movies that he's
Danny
still
Garcia?
weirdly friends with.
Right? Is that her name, right?
Yeah, Danny Garcia. And at the wedding, Hulk Hogan gives him the advice to like rebrand himself and be like, be more you, be tougher and stuff.
Well, that is some serious fucking rewriting because Hogan was in WCW at that point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is their rival, like their major rival company. Like WCW is putting WWF out of business at that time. That is a fucking lie. There's no way that is true. I'm sorry. There's no Hogan and Vince.
In the
were
show,
not
it happens
talking
at his wedding, at The Rock's wedding. I can't verify that, but Hulk Hogan is like, your thing isn't working. You got to be something else.
It's just
that's what I got.
I just don't see that being a thing because with Vince and Hogan, we're like so far apart.
And The Rock goes to Vince and is like, Vince, I want to try rebranding, and he goes, okay, you go. We'll put you on the domination thing. Nation of Domination.
Yeah, Nation of Domination, which is like a Black Power group.
Yeah, and so that's what The Rock's like. People still don't like me here. He says to the leader of the nation. I don't remember his name.
Farouk.
Yes,
yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, I think Vince just did this because you were black.
Yep.
Going to the nation itself doesn't do it, so then The Rock decides I'm going to turn heel and has like this speech where he's like, everybody, you all, I was your champion, you didn't like me, so fuck you all. And then he becomes heel.
Yeah.
And it's still not
Basically.
working, but it's starting to trend in a good direction.
Yeah, because the crowd was chanting, die, Rocky, die at him.
And he's like, how dare you say this, you ungrateful pieces of shit. And then Vince is like, you know what, maybe don't call the audience pieces of shit, but it seems to be going okay, so we'll see.
I think he calls them pieces of trash.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever was appropriate for NBC at the time. And then Randall Park talks about that he played Kim Jong-un in a movie once in the fictitious future.
No. In the interview, the movie with Seth Rogen and James Franco. Do you not remember this? It was a real movie that like caused an international crisis. It was like the whole Sony hacks thing. You don't remember this?
I remember the movie coming out, and I remember watching the movie. Look at how important you were, movie, in my brain. The world just moved on from you and your dumb, stupid comedy.
Well, they weren't going to release. It was like this big scandal.
Yeah, it's all coming back to me now that you bring it up. I still don't care.
But hold on, because it was like one of the first like major like Hollywood releases that just went kind of straight to streaming in 2014. It went on YouTube.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
Uh-oh.
Let me bring you to this article.
Okay.
All right, this article from Deadline from November 3rd. Warner Brothers Discovery chief David Zaslav, our favorite man.
Oh, yes, of course.
On Conglom's content strategy. Quote, real focus on franchises like Superman and Harry Potter. Hooray!
The ones we're all clamoring for. We don't have enough Harry Potters.
The article is by Anthony D'Alessandro. In the near future, it's pretty simple what the new Warner Brothers Discovery will zero in on. President and CEO David Zaslav on this afternoon's Q3 earnings call says, we're going to have a real focus on franchises. It's from the headline I just read you. He says, we haven't had a Superman movie in 13 years, Zaslav emphasized. Oh God, the drought of Superman films this country is reeling from the lack of Superman films.
Yeah, I guess. We've seen Superman recently, though.
Yeah. And then he says, we haven't had a Harry Potter film in 15 years. First of all, that's fine. Second of all, yes, we have. Didn't we just have like 3 of them?
Well, those weren't Harry Potter movies.
Oh, they're Harry Potter films. They're in your franchise universe, you dumb,
they're
stupid
set
fuck.
in the fantastic wizardry world.
Yeah, that Harry Potter lives in, idiot.
Yeah. Well, I guess he wasn't born yet because these movies take place earlier.
Yes, it doesn't matter. They're still in your world.
I just need to tell you, Tanya, one of the biggest Harry Potter fans that I've ever come in contact with, and she does not like these new Fantastic Beasts movie. Like, she stopped seeing them.
Awesome.
That's how bad they are, though. Like someone that is just, I'll watch everything that's in Harry Potter. And then she's like, no.
Zaslav continues with, the DC movies and Harry Potter movies provided a lot of profits for Warner Brothers over the last 25 years. And I go, well, yeah, I guess. You just want to milk that cow till it's dry then? That's the plan? Genius.
The cow's just like,
yeah, thank God they paid you $300 million to come up with that plan. Anthony D'Alessandro writes, recently Henry Cavill announced he was reprising his role of Man of Steel after his cameo in Black Adam, but there are no details on a Superman script or director. Zaslav notes, House of Dragons is a big example of this, taking advantage of Sex and the City. Lord of the Rings, we still have rights to do a Lord of the Rings movie. He did not call out New Line's upcoming Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim, due out in 2024. Listen.
What?
I don't know what that movie is. I don't know what that's about. I don't care that movie's coming out.
Yeah, but they also have that Amazon show about Lord of the Rings.
Sex and the City is a property you want to mine for further franchising. Okay.
Did you not know that they already made a sequel series?
A prequel series, too. Don't forget about that.
Oh, yeah. What was
the Carrie Diaries on the CW. The perfect place for a Sex and the City prequel.
Well, if it's about teenagers, then yes, it is. CW should... That's where all the teenager shows should go.
Yeah.
Handle them well.
No, it's just where all the DC shows go.
Yeah, well now, but like 10 years ago, they were like, oh yeah.
Zaslav says, you focus on the big movies, the tentpoles that people are going to leave home and leave early for dinner to see. Zaslav emphasizes how big pictures make 2 or 3 times more in the U.S. 2 or 3 times more than what? It's only big films now. That's all you got.
Yeah.
And also, Black Adam, make it less than Ticket to Paradise. Just saying.
It's true.
Zaslav then slams direct-to-streaming movies, a plan executed under the former Warner Media regime. Zaslav says, we learned what doesn't work, and that is what doesn't work for us based on everything we've seen, direct-to-streaming movies. So spending $1 billion or collapsing a motion picture window into a streaming service. I'll pause here to say, you don't have to spend $1 billion. No one's asking you to do that. There is no rule saying I must spend $1 billion on a movie. Batgirl, you didn't even spend that much on. You didn't do it. Also, you could have put in the theater, and surprise, surprise, probably would have made more than Black Adam. Just seeing how Black Panther did this weekend. That's all.
The funny thing is, though, we used to spend like $30 to like $40 million on movies, and then they'd usually make about $70 to $90 million if they were good.
Yes, I know.
You don't need to spend $150 to make $300 million. Like, what?
Yeah, apparently nobody was asking for the $200 million Black Adam movie that you shoved down our throats. So, Zaslav, do you plan to not do a sequel now and to not spend stupid amount of money on it? We'll see. Zaslav also says the entire library shouldn't be on HBO Max and paid for by HBO Max. We have an extraordinary library. Friends, Big Bang Theory, 2.5 Men, all television shows being mentioned there.
Yeah, you can watch these all on cable.
Also, you spent like $1 billion on all of those shows. And those are okay for you to spend too much money on and have them on streaming. So there you go. Warner Brothers Discovery only wants to make gigantic films to make $300 million at the box office. Great planning there, Zaslav.
It just seems so, like, asinine.
Oh, that's my favorite word on this podcast. Yeah, asinine.
Why not take just a smaller risk with $30 million movies? Give a director that, like, you give a very skilled director with that, like, they're like, oh, okay, all right. Like, give us Soderbergh that much? He's like, holy shit, I haven't had that much money in like 10 years. He'll give you a blockbuster for $30 million.
This idea that like small movies don't work because they cost too much to make? We don't want to take a risk on those. They're too expensive. Too expensive. Black Adam cost you too much money. You're not even going to break even.
Yeah, their illogical reasoning behind not making smaller movies is that they don't make as much money as a bigger movie. But, like, that's a bigger risk you're taking because maybe
Black Adam's
going to
lose you $200 million. Batgirl was certainly not going to cost you that much money. Also, this notion that you're going to have to spend $100 million on marketing for a $70 million movie is stupid. And the fact that it's a superhero film just gives it its own viral marketing. Like, all the nerds are just going to talk about all the superhero movies coming out. So, like, everybody knew Black Panther was coming out. You didn't need to do all that much marketing for it. Everybody knew Black Adam was coming out before you shoved it down our throat because The Rock wouldn't shut up about it.
A real test for this marketing thing, though, will be A24's The Whale, which they just released like a minute trailer for. But everyone knows that's going to be like, it's the Brendan Fraser movie. Like, that's the big Oscar buzz movie. There's been nothing about that movie. There's been a one still all like festival long, and then they put out like this like minute long trailer that gives you nothing. And I'm like, okay, so they're gonna get people intrigued at least, so you can make like $15 million. And what was the budget on that? Like $10 million? Like nothing.
Part of the casting of Brendan Fraser in that movie is a marketing plan in itself.
Yeah, he's on a big comeback.
Yeah, he's an internet meme already, and it's a comeback story. Like, everybody's gonna lap this up. The point of you casting The Rock in Black Adam is so you don't have to, that's the whole point of the star system, so you don't have to advertise as much. Because
he'll do it on Instagram for you.
Yeah, everybody's following these people anyway. And also, in the superhero world, there are no secrets. Everybody knows what's coming out for the next 10 years because you announce it ahead of time.
It's so boring.
You have your Tim Gunn's making your new 10-year plan. Like, you know what's going on. No, Zaslav being like, it's only franchises now. I go, what the F are we doing here? Yeah, we have Harry Potter. We haven't done Harry Potter. People are clamoring for that. Yeah, people want more Superman. People want the most boring superhero ever. We gotta do more of those. Doodly-doo. Yeah, people love our DC films. Let's keep making those. Shibida-boo-boo.
I think the most profitable DC film they've made is Joker. So they should be taking more.
Oh, yeah, like, I'm sure.
Say what you will about that movie. It definitely did not cost as much as a Black Adam.
Yes.
It cost like maybe like a sliver of that much, and it got Oscars and made $1 billion. So why aren't they taking that?
Well, that's why I'm confused. Like, why did you think Batgirl was not going to make any money? I just can't. It's tailor made for the crowds of 2022. People are hungry for that kind of content, and you said this isn't going to do it. Oh, by the way, we're only mining franchises. Hey, look, this is a franchise you have. Yeah, but not Batgirl. Everything but Batgirl we're going to do.
The funny thing is, though, I think it's not even like that we're afraid that it was going to make money. I think they were like embarrassed because they weren't like excited by what they were seeing.
I don't know how you're excited by Black Adam. I have no idea how you're excited by Black Adam.
Put out recently. None of these movies look that good.
Batgirl must be atrocious to watch if Black Adam was okay to invest $600 million into, but Batgirl wasn't worth $150 million. And you didn't even need to spend that much on advertising for it, but fine. And you don't want to put it out in streaming? Okay. Put it in your stupid theaters. You make $300 million on that easy. I bet you're making $500 million.
Especially after all the talk about it now. People will definitely go see it.
So you can have your stupid, paltry tax write-off? You're going to lose $200 million on Black Adam, whatever. So you have all that to look forward to in the coming years. Just the bankrupt creativity.
Tomorrow on Deadline, Patrick Skeyhill signs with HBO Max. Like you're developing new content for them. These morons! They gave me money!
What if Superman rescues a whale? What if Superman hugs a grandmother? Boom, $20 million. There you go.
Hey, I will watch Superman hugging a grandma because you don't know how if he's going to squeeze her hard, squeeze her not too tight. You know, might be grandma's a little brittle. Maybe grandma's the secret villain. Who knows?
Yeah, because if I go and I'm like, hey, what if we do Batman, but maybe from the point of view of a burglar, like a small-time burglar, and Batman's actually
script is down.
Yeah, Batman's actually the villain in the movie, and it's like this horrible, like frightening, don't breathe now kind of movie. And they go, nah.
You only need $5 million? What?
Nah, we don't want to do just streaming things. And I go, well, we don't stream it. It's just, I hear $2 million. That sounds like you're just streaming it. All right. Any last looks on King of Marvin Gardens?
Jack, Bruce, Ellen. My three friends. There we go.
Okay. My Three Sons. If you're familiar with your popular 60s sitcoms.
Three's Company.
That's popular 70s sitcoms.
You know what? I like them.
You like Three's Company?
No, I like Jack, Ellen, and Bruce.
Yeah, all talented actors in this film. Very talented, showing off some of their best
stuff. Is Bruce
the
only one that didn't win the Oscar? I think he never won an Oscar.
But didn't he win one for Nebraska?
No, he was definitely nominated. Was that No, that wasn't the same year as Birdman.
No, it wasn't. It was a couple years before.
The year of Birdman was the year that Michael Keaton should have won his Oscar. Eddie Redmayne won instead, and that was sad. And I don't like that.
Well, yeah, that movie was not good either.
What, Birdman?
No, the
Theory of Everything?
Yeah, terrible movie. Can't believe it got any nominations, let alone as many as it did. All right, my last looks. Why does Jack Nicholson do this movie? Well, he's hanging out with all his buds. It's part of this BBS crew. It's a good role that is not in his wheelhouse, so maybe he wanted that opportunity to try something different and hang out with pals. Sort of a Sandler kind of thing. I'm just hanging out with my buds, doing bud stuff.
Bob and Bruce.
I don't know, and you get to hang out with Atlantic City, and you know your director well, and you have a shorthand with him, so it's not super difficult, and you get to try exploring new avenues, and you haven't really done that in a while since, like, what? Little Shop of Horrors? Like, or maybe one of those those other Corman films, The Raven, The Terror, something like that?
The Terror.
The Terror!
9 months to shoot that movie. Because of the scene in the river.
Yeah, well, I mean... Really like 4 days with a 9-month gap in between.
Yes, true.
Yes. All right. I'd like to thank Lev Van Rensselaer for minding those audio boards, keeping the sound so slippery smooth. Thank our sponsor, Pimple Moose, not the weirdest product we've ever advertised. And I say that honestly. I'd like to thank Joe Vekeman for stopping by.
Thank you.
And I am your host, Patrick Skeyhill. You may find my features, documentaries, short films, video essays, animations, behind-the-scenes footage, and so much more at QuixoticUnited.com and social media, presumably with a similar-sounding name. Thank you all for listening. Joe, say goodnight.
Good night.
Under the boardwalk, out of the sun. Under the boardwalk, we'll be having some fun. Under the boardwalk, people walking above. Under the boardwalk, we were falling in love. Under the boardwalk, on the park you hear the happy sound of a carousel.
Well, you know what I did see yesterday, Joe?
Uh-oh. What'd you see?
It's a movie I know you've already seen. Let me describe to you some of the events in this movie. These are various stories taking place within a rural Texas town. There is a high school football player that suddenly loses interest in the game in a town that super cares about football. There is a mother flagrantly leading her daughter down a morally questionable path and then feeling bad about it later. A guy tries to have sex with a hot girl but can't get it up, but she makes him tell people that they did it anyways. And a young person is goaded into having sex by an older man in a creepy fashion. What movie did I watch?
Described. Wait, is it a new movie?
Nope.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think Hollywood's learned a couple of lessons since then. Rinse, wash, repeat. It's not Men, Women, and Children, is it?
I'm glad you brought up Men, Women, Children.
Because that's exactly what it sounds like.
That's exactly what I'm describing. No, you know what I'm describing? 1950s Men, Women, Children. It's called The Last Picture Show.
Wow. I've already forgotten what that movie was about, and I watched it earlier this year. Wow. Ben Johnson. We got a
Ben Johnson.
What is it? Like, what's the... We get something in our craw. What's that phrase? We get something sticking in our craw.
Maybe that's a Texas phrase.
You know what? Beans and... What's another Texas thing? Beans and burgers.
I don't know if that is if that's a Texas thing, listeners, email us at whathappenedtothem@gmail.com because I don't believe that's true. Yeah, I was just at the beginning, I'm like, oh, this is kind of like, Decibel Men, Women, Children. That's kind of kooky. But it was like a joke to myself. And then it just kept resembling the movie. And I was like, wow, Adam Sandler, what a literary mind he had.
That was not Sandler making that movie. He's like, oh man, what are you bringing me into? Oh, okay. Oh, jeez.
Oh, he's kind of like Ray Romano there. All right.
Oh, Deborah.
Like I could. I might rewatch that after I'm done with Becker.
Wait, Everybody Loves Raymond?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Seeing Last Picture Show and knowing that it came out the same year as A Safe Place. Oh, I see why America preferred one over the other. My fear with Last Picture Show is that it's sort of like a lot of the indie films we got towards these Good Will Hunting type indie films we got at the end of these very crowd-pleasing, Hollywood-friendly indie films. A little too saccharine. And I guess, while Bogdanovich is conveying a mood that the other BBS films were doing at the time, he's doing it a lot less experimentally. He's pushing the boundaries of what cinema can do much less. It's a very Hollywood type of style, despite the subject matter being very anti-Hollywood at the time. And so I'm just imagining all films like Safe Place and even King of Marvin Gardens being much harder to make and appreciate in the wake of The Last Picture Show. And I'm interested to see how that carries out in future Nicholson films.
Yeah, well, this is the end of the BBS run, right?
Guess, yeah, the King of Marvin Gardens is the last one. So... yeah, I just wonder if it changed what audiences and critics wanted from their indie films, which worries me a little bit. But I know good films do come out in the 70s still, but
yeah, plenty of them.
Yeah, I worry what Bogdanovich kind of encouraged later. I mean, the blockbusters aren't that far away from here either.
Well, we're 3 years away from
Jaws.
Jaws.
From Jaws. So, I don't know. There's a lot of quote unquote indie films that come out now. And I'm like, you're not. Don't waste. Every time AMC puts indie on top of something that shouldn't be, I go get out of here. So Last Picture Show, fine. Probably my least favorite in the box set.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would think so.
Maybe I'll rewatch it because I liked it.
Yeah, but I was watching
it.
I go, oh yeah, this is a total Joe movie. I get it.
Oh, thanks.
It's not a bad thing.
My favorite movie that we've watched in this BBS series has been 5 Easy Pieces. 100%.
That is a good one.
That's my favorite one. I know your favorite is what
it's A Safe
last
Place.
week.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy choice. A lot of the films I didn't like from this collection went up on second viewing, so we'll see. There's a lot of supplementary materials for Last Picture Show, including 2 just different commentary tracks. We'll see.
Wow, did Bogdanovich do a commentary on that?
Yeah, there's one with just the director and one with the director and actors.
Jeff Bridges? They get Jeff Bridges in
I think
for that?
Jeff Bridges is there, yeah.
Oh,
It's
wow.
Jeff Bridges, Sybil Shepherd, and I think somebody else. I forget.
Sounds volatile. How can that not?
I don't think it's
well?
Timothy Bottoms. A weird and goofy-looking Randy Quaid in this film. I guess he's just always goofy-looking. You know, that's just his thing is goofy. The goofy Quaid.
But he's really tall.
Yeah, being
Don't
tall is
forget
pretty
how
sweet.
he's very what's the word, like maybe not intimidating, but he's like his stature is a little intimidating because you never realize how tall he is.
I had a very, very hard time telling apart the 2 male leads in the movie.
We're talking about we're not talking about King of Marvin Gardens, right?
No, I'm still talking about Last Picture Show. Yeah, there's Jeff Bridges and then the main guy I never heard of, Timothy Bottoms.
It's Timothy Bottoms. It's not Ben Johnson.
No. The 2 boys, Ben Johnson and Randy Quaid, fortunately look a lot different because they are different ages.
Yeah, Sam the Lion. Timothy Bottoms. What have I seen him in? Let's see. Let's take a look at his little filmography here. Yeah. Wait, did you know 2 years ago there was a movie came out that was called Tar that starred Timothy Bottoms? It was a star.
Whoa!
So weird. But he was an elephant. Did you ever see that Gus Van Sant movie?
Nope.
The shooting. Yeah, this guy's been in nothing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Been in nothing.
So yeah, I spent a good chunk of my time was spending like, okay, this guy's with the blonde lady, and this guy's with Cloris Leachman, but then this guy was also getting with blonde lady, and I'm like, what happened here? The women carrying a lot of the heavy acting lifting here.
Yeah, of course. Isn't Cloris Leachman win her Oscar for it?
She is, and the scene I'm imagining the Academy voting for is the scene is not as good as the other scene that I imagine went under the radar. I bet they're all being like, wow, look at her throw that coffee. She's so angry at this kid. But it's really the awkward statutory rape scene in the middle that I think is where she's working her best magic.
Yes.
But the woman from this movie, Ellen Burstyn, she's kicking butt. Despite not being in it very much. I wish the diner lady we did more with, because I think she was kicking butt. Sybil Shepherd had her moments. It was mostly when she wasn't talking, but that I blame on the dialogue. And the editing, not that the editing is...
That's so mean.
I blame the dialogue. The script, I should say. The editing in this movie, not that it's a big presence, but when it does come up, it's atrocious.
Wow.
When the movie's just like, here, we're going to have this very languid pace of this dying Texas American dream town, I say, okay, the Korean War standing in for the Vietnam War is a very... MASH has sort of set the scope for that and everything. Like, all that's fine. But when he wants to be like, look, we're editing now. Look at us go. Whoa. Awful. It's bad. It's very bad.
I think it's also the longest movie in the collection.
It is, but not by much. It's a little over 2 hours. That's not the problem. It's just when he's cutting to inserts, or like when Sybil Shepherd gets mad at Jeff Bridges at that sex scene. It's cutting up a storm, and I think it's cutting to get around her nudity, maybe, but they're comfortable with another scene, so I wasn't sure. It's just, I don't know where anybody is or what's going on, and the black and white's making the room look like it's not anything, and bad. But other than, it's a perfectly fine movie. Despite my many, many complaints.
Yeah, I liked it. Like I said, it's been almost a year now since I've seen it, though.
I get why you liked it.
But we watched a different movie.
Yeah, all right. Let's go. Dive on in.